Hello! We've got a treat. My mother, Marsha Karp, and I are going to catch up. We've not spoken in a while. We're both psychotherapists. Welcome. And we thought, why not share our wonderful discussion with you guys? Because why not? It's wonderful when we get together. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman. And we love her. I'm just sharing this on my pages. And it's always extraordinarily valuable, in my opinion, to have straight conversations in the presence of others and invite our friends to be present and say hi and ask us, use us if you want to. This is what we both do, she and I. We're both psychotherapists. My mother is a psychodramatist. She's, how old is she? Gosh, I don't even know. 76 and I'm 41. So between us, we've been doing this a while. It's not to say that we know everything necessarily. Obviously, we're both eternal students of life, but we love to share fun and love and compassion and our knowledge, experience of working with people globally. Both she and I work globally with all kinds of different people, all kinds of different issues. Here she is. Bring her on camera. Share the video, mother. And it would be wonderful to just get a group, a tribe of us here, a collective here, just sharing questions if you want about anything. Goodness only knows what this one's been up to, globe-trotting and teaching all over the place. So we'll get to see what's going on, movers and shakers in this world, looking to be the best of them. This is a treat with your mom, says Dolores. It absolutely is. It's always a treat. She's incredible. If she's got her phone sideways so that we can both get on together as a split screen, that would be absolutely glorious. So how are you, wonderful ones? Happy weekend to you. Happy Sunday. Whatever's going on in your world. Happy Sunday. Whatever's going on in Hello.
Do you like my hat?
I love your hat.
I have to turn off the iPad just a minute.
Hello. Yeah, do. I love your hat. Did you share the video?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hello, hello. So anybody that doesn't know you, which is highly unlikely, but who are you?
Poppy's mom.
And ... Well, tell us about your hat, because clearly that's what you do.
Well, the hat, I bought another hat last week, and I really loved it. And then I saw this hat, and I loved it more. So I bought this hat. And then I went to the British Psychodrama Association conference in Malvern Hills in Worcestershire, I think it was, with Nesha Karabekir from Istanbul and Maurizio something from Granada. I was going to marry him, but he wanted to watch the football and I forgot, so that didn't work.
You forgot to watch the football, or you forgot to marry him?
Forgot to marry him, and he wanted to watch the football, so we didn't get married.
Well, I don't think that was going anywhere, Mum. Sorry.
Anyway.
Feel all right about it now?
Well, he's coming to my party. I'm having a party, an after-conference party, and already 15 people are coming Tuesday, starting at 2 p.m. and going maybe till the next day, because so many people are different time. Moscow, 3 Israelis or 4 Israelis, Istanbul, Honduras, Ecuador, several from London who didn't get a chance to go to the conference are coming, which is wonderful. Then Lisbon, one's coming. It's all exciting. I've never had a party.
Hello? You've never had a party? We've got people on the feed saying happy birthday. You're telling me you've never had a party?
I have one every day, yes, but not in my house because I've just moved here. So I have
well, wonderful.
I have 2 big plates and a lot of small plates, but I have a lot of glasses. and I've asked people to bring orchids.
Brilliant. That's a nice thing to bring.
But I was just thinking before you rang, I don't have any food, so I think I better cook or ask people to bring food, or I don't know quite what. But I've got a balcony.
So everybody could bring a dish. Yeah. Have it be a, what do they call it here? Not a tombola. What do they call it here? A bring something thing.
Yeah, but everybody's from a different country. They can't be cooking in their hotel rooms, can they?
Oh, no. They could pick up something on the way.
Yeah. But I have a balcony now, which is wonderful, and lots of flowers. And I was thinking I could put my dining room table, which is movable, out, because I have another table out. We could all sit on the balcony, which would be nice. Starting at 2.
Beautiful. How many people are you expecting?
Well, now about 15, but I think it's growing. And on the train back, everything broke down, and we had to take replacement everything's. And instead of going to Paddington, we wound up in Euston and all this stuff. One lady from Glasgow lost her hats. Oh, so here's the thing. I wore 2 hats to the conference because I wanted to sell the other one that I didn't like, and I like this one more. So I met Teresa. You know, I think you remember her, Teresa Brown from Glasgow. I met her just as I got there, and I said, "What do you think about this hat?" And I pulled off.
Wait. What was the conference, and when was it?
British Psychodrama Association. It started Friday. It ended today.
Okay.
And I did a workshop called Introduction to Psychodrama. Was 3 hours. And it was opposite the annual general meeting. And then today we did playback theater, and they wanted to know if I want. Well, I wanted to do a scene of Moreno. Was his.
Say what playback theatre is, because many people won't know that.
Somebody comes from the audience, tells a story. There's 4 actors in black, and they've all volunteered. Playback actors, they volunteered. One person is the narrator. No, I'm the narrator, and then one person is the, forget the name of it, person sits next to you, and then they ask you questions. So she said there were all these scarves on the table, and one of my bugaboos is that when Moreno taught us, the scene was 1960.
Wait, one of your what? Bugamums?
Bugaboo.
What's that?
A bugaboo. Well, when we learned from Moreno, who's the founder of group psychotherapy and psychodrama, we made music with our hands. We made music with our feet. We made music with our voices. We clapped. We think. And now a lot of these therapists around the world who are doing group work, they take 3 weeks to decide which music to use, and then gather 600 scarves and objects and boa constrictor feather things, and they bring them all. And
right,
my point is that we were taught to do everything in the here and now. Hic et nunc, which is a Latin, here and now. Sui generis. In other words, there's no moment like this moment. It never happened before, never happened again. If we bring scarves, a bunch of colored scarves, for example, from a shop, blue, pink, orange thing, it's from then, and everything happens in the here and now. So if you say I'm angry and somebody gives you a bloody red scarf, or I don't know what, we the group make whatever's in the theater or whatever's in the room. We make that stuff. We create it. We don't create it from the there and then, but from the here and now.
Right.
So I go up on the stage and there's 6 million scarves sitting there because I have no problem with that. Playback theater, wonderful playback theater. Jonathan Fox created that in the, I think, the 60s, maybe in the 60s. And it's all around the world, and it's marvelous, where people tell stories, refugees, couples, individuals, and the actors play the roles, play out the story, and you get a chance to divide yourself from what's internally, and you see it as a story played out, you know?
Yeah.
And they take the mood and stuff. So I said, it's 1965, it's Moreno, I'm 23. I feel gratitude, listening, excited, and so on. She said 3 words that describe Moreno. I said fat, fat, hilarious, and he remembers everything. He's a very, very keen observer. So she said, what do you want to play out? I said, I don't know. The fact that we have a group, something deep. Moreno runs something deep. I chose Carl Dutton, one of our trainees at Howell. Now he's a big psychotherapist person up north, to be Moreno without a doubt. So he put his stomach out fat. I said, he doesn't forget anything. And he went, and hilarious. And he went, ah. So there were 4 actors. And then I chose Rebecca Walters from New York City, who came to the conference, to be me. She asked me to pick somebody to be me. And then at a certain point, one person was spontaneity. One person was, she said, oh, you're a genius. And then another person said, oh, no, Moreno, you're a genius, because Moreno called us all geniuses. He saw what we could be, not who we were, what we could be. So he called me in once, called me a genius. And then Elaine Goldman said, he called me a genius yesterday. And then this poor white-faced priest from Colombia said, I was called in yesterday, called a genius too. So we thought, what is he trying to do? That we are all geniuses. Okay, so this woman said, if this thing is all about geniuses, I don't feel good enough to be here. Please, somebody help me. So Moreno said, Moreno went on the ground, and he said, I'm doing a deep session. You know, he would, this is deep session. So then somebody, one of the actors, started slapping the floor, and the other actors slapped the floor and clicked and stuff. And
But this is all improv, by
the
way, right?
yeah.
It's happening
Conductor,
here now.
that's the name of the person who sits there, Di Adderley. She's a sociodramatist, very clever lady. I've known her 100 years. She said, do I want any music? Because there was a guitarist who had volunteered to play the music. I said, no, the group makes the music. You know, so I sacked him immediately. And then see this ring, by the way. Did I explain?
Yes, you did. You explained, but you could do it again.
Well, Gandhi, for example,
briefly
in India, I don't know how to do briefly. It's a mausoleum shrine thing in India where the ideas and concepts, the contribution of Gandhi and all great thinkers in India, or not so great thinkers, they have something like this, and to bury their contributions and stuff. And Moreno, I bought it just by chance because I was given a humanitarian award at the University of Kiev, and I thought I'll buy myself a present.
Okay, quit doing that now.
Well, it's the origin of the Moreno stage, and I never knew that, so I bought it by mistake, accident, on purpose.
No, well, it's so serendipitous. But quit moving it because it's making me dizzy.
Okay. So anyway, we did this improvisational thing of Moreno showing how the group makes whatever happens. And my point is this, that when psychodramatists and playbackers and everybody else use things from outside, they need to just make a distinction between cultural conserve, which Moreno said was Beethoven, for example. He was only happy when he was at the piano composing, and then we've all got it as a cultural conserve, like plums in a jar. You know, we play it in the music halls and we play it on records, but it's not the moment of spontaneity that he had. That's when he was happy. But creativity is fueled by spontaneity. So we have a cultural conserved moment of Beethoven's spontaneity, but the spontaneity is the hunger we all have to create something new. Never happened before, never happen again. And if we create it again and again and again and again, just let us know, the people who are training in it, that there's a choice. You can do what's a cultural conserve, that is to use lots of props from some other moment, or not. You can say, I go there. Moreno used to say, I start from nothing. I structure the performance very gradually. But he didn't bring 6 suitcases full of scarves and drums. And he said the group has to make the music and make the atmosphere and make the moment and stuff like that. And just to give people a choice and to just make a distinguish thing.
Yeah. Nothing contrived about this at all. It's all happening just in the moment through.
Well, but
magic
marvelous
and miracles,
playback
really.
actors, marvelous. I once saw a group of actors be a sausage. So they put lots of beige scarves around and they made themselves into a sausage. But that was great. But the point is, they could have themselves been the sausage.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. I remember that. Do you remember when we were, I think we were at Oxford, where I did the warm up for the psychodrama and I had all the people be machines, working
I
machines.
do. That was Nottingham. Yeah.
At the warm up.
Nottingham.
Nottingham. I don't know why I had Oxford in my head. Anyway, I'm intrigued about you. You mentioned some drama on the train. What was the drama?
Oh dear.
I bet people can identify. I had a whiff of it and thought, that's going to be a human experience.
Well, we got on the train, which was the second train, because everything was cancelled and buses and this and that. We got on a train and there was a woman on.
Who's we?
Oh, Nesha Karabika from Istanbul, Sergio Guimares, who lives, I think he lives now in Honduras, or anyway, he's from Argentina. He's a South American guy, and I make lots of videos. He's a filmmaker, a teacher, but he works for UNESCO Children. But he's trained in psychodrama, and he's done more videos on Zerka Moreno than anybody else. And he did a couple with me that are on YouTube, or if anybody wants to watch, Sergio Guimares, where I roll reverse with Zerka and stuff like that. Anyway, he was there. The guy from Moscow was there. Artur from Moscow. Teresa Brown from Glasgow. The 3 Israeli girls were there. Anyway,
there's a lot of you on the train.
Yeah, packed because it's a Sunday, and some people didn't have a place to sit. So anyway, we sit down, me and Nesha, and a woman is on her phone, and she was on and on and on on her phone, and it was loud. And she was about 2-3 seats from me. And I got up rather angrily because I was tired. It was hot and we've been, going since Friday. And I said, how long do we have to listen to your phone call? Because, oh, God. I said, it's kind of antisocial. There's a lot of us on the train. It's very hot. It's very crowded. And just give me an estimate of how long your phone call is going to last, because it's hard to, Well, she looked.
Did you do that quietly or loudly?
Semi-quiet.
Really?
I mean, there were 4 people at her table, okay?
Okay.
And she looked at me and she said, well, you could ask me more nicely. And I said, well, okay.
How did you feel when she said that?
Furious.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I said, well, okay, I understand. I could ask you nicely. I'm sorry. I'm a bit tired, but the point is, it's so loud and it's antisocial, and this is a community in a way. And and she said, well, then I'm gonna keep talking then.
Oh dear. Okay.
So I sat down. So then she finished one phone call, but she was.
And then how did you feel when you sat down?
Well, that I'd met a teenager.
Right.
Who was one.
And how old did you feel?
My age.
Okay.
So then she quieted down a little bit. So her voice quieted down a little bit. So she got kind of the message. But as soon as she finished the phone call, she made another phone call. That went on for 2.5 hours, Poppy. She was on her phone for 2.5 hours. One phone call after another phone call, giving me the evils. I was giving her the evils. And then finally, Nesha, I got up, go to the toilet, and Nesha sort of said, calm down, Marsha, because I asked her to say, calm down, Marsha. And then I went back to her and I said, look, we've had enough. It's 2.5 hours, and that's enough, it seems to me. This is a community. How about some decency for the rest of us? Why would I want to do what you say? I don't have to do what you say.
Oh, bless her.
I don't have to do what you say. I'll do what I want to do. So I sat down again. So anyway, then the train got into Euston.
Gosh.
Meanwhile, I was watching her saying to Nesha, she's making another phone call. Get into Euston. I said, come on, Nesha, let's go quickly on the left here, so to scurry along, because she's going to come and try to find me and get me arrested or I don't know what. And then we're just getting our trolley, and this voice in my ear says, could we talk about this? And I said, about what? I said, about what? She said, well, it's obvious. I said, okay. And I faced her and I said, look, it seems to me we're in a community and we try to look after each other. Well, the way you said it, I said, fair enough. Are you telling me that you can pollute my environment on the train? You can completely ruin my train ride and pollute the air with the sound of your conversations, but I can't say to you, who's being rude here? So she said, somebody, like she did on the train also, she asked the lady next to her, am I bothering you? The woman said nothing, and then she said, I'm Italian. So she didn't, but I don't know. So then when I was getting the trolley, a man ran up to her and said something. So she said to me, and a man said it didn't bother him. I said, oh, good for you. Good. Oh, and I kept walking. And then she kept following me, and she said, ultimately, well, I think you're horrible.
Oh.
I said, good luck. Oh. I said, good luck to you. The kindness you give out is the kindness you're going to get. And the consideration you give out is the consideration you're going to get. Good luck with it. And I left fast with Nesha. And then finally, she didn't keep following me on this and that. But I think she wanted to find me to say, in the end, you're horrible. I think I felt that was the punchline she was trying to say from the beginning, which is, I will not be ruled. I'll do what I want. And if the more you tell me I can't do what I want, the more I'm going to do what I want loudly and more voraciously and more. My life is my life. But my point was, so is mine. So I don't know.
What's your synopsis?
What?
What's your synopsis of the whole thing?
I have a feeling if I would have gone sweetly and said, excuse me, I have a bit of a migraine. I wonder if you could keep your voice down. I've done that 100 times before, Puppy. I know how to do that. And I was thinking as I was on the train after Nesha left, I've lived in Britain 46 years. I've done the kind, I've done the polite, I've done the nice person. It doesn't get me anywhere.
Well, is there a middle ground?
Well, here's the thing. I never heard of migraines till this country. Then I find all these ladies that go to bed for 3 days. Why? Because they're split between what they feel and what they say, and what's really internally thing. You know, like, I'm so happy to see you again. No, I'm sorry I bumped into you. Or, this was really a fine meal, a great gathering. I'm never coming here again. So, of course, if people are split to that extent, it's a splitting headache. So
yeah.
Okay, so I said
what
this
about
before. I said this. What?
Is there a middle ground? Is my question, because it sounds like it wasn't very pleasant for either of you.
Well, Desha and I had a nice time, and I remember thinking we had lots of stuff. We shared our workshops we were in, and we shared information, and we had fun with Teresa and everything. But she left her hats on the train, unfortunately, so we have to phone British Rail Lost and Found for her hats. I sold her my other hat, you see, right away. It looks really nice on her. But anyway, I tried to keep thinking, I'm not going to let this spoil my train journey. So I tried not to.
So what?
But she kept giving me the evils, and I kept saying another. I said another one, another one. And it wasn't like anything important. It was kind of like, okay, I'll call you Tuesday. Oh, will you? Tuesday. Oh, yes. And I'm on the train now. Oh, terribly important. Kids are in cages in America, and nobody can find their families. And all she's saying, I'm on a train. That's not really important. And why would somebody take a train ride for 2.5 hours and not be able to not make all these phone calls? Why can't she do them when she goes home?
Okay, so want to play with this one?
I don't know.
Well, this is human stuff, right?
Sure, I maybe need to go to a psychiatric hospital.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is human stuff that we all encounter. I mean, do we? Anybody identify with this stuff?
Well, I was tired. I was tired. I remember on the train thinking I'd like to sleep for 24 hours now. So I wasn't in my most tolerant place. Mm-hmm. Maybe she wasn't either, but I had the feeling that she was looking for a fight if I didn't do it. And the other thing I was thinking is, not only was I not supposed to say, please don't make 500 phone calls, but I was supposed to say it in the way she wanted me to say it, which was nicely. And this alcoholic told me, when you point the finger at somebody else, it's your fault, it's your fault. There's 3 more fingers pointing back at you that you don't want to look at. It's your fault. If it weren't for you, there's 3 more. So those 3 more fingers pointing at me is, maybe we should have just moved our seats, but we were lucky to get any seats. People were standing. We were to get 2 seats together, and we were lucky.
Yeah. Seats. But I'm intrigued by lots of things in here. But equally, when because Mum and I spoke for like 2 minutes before we went live, you mentioned, I'm intrigued what you were thinking. You mentioned something that you thought Poppy always gets people being horrible to her, and then you thought about this. What were you thinking? Well, you
say sometimes on your lives. Today I met somebody in the line at the supermarket, and they said something, and she didn't like me, or I didn't. And I asked to talk to her and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, Poppy's getting into these scrapes, interesting scrapes. I don't get into any of those scrapes. People seem to, I got into a scrape.
Do you know of yourself that you can be on occasion
acerbic,
aggressive?
Acerbic. I am acerbic and aggressive. Yes, I can be.
Okay, so how? And this is, I'm just playing with this because I know it's really important, and it happens like the world over, day in, day out with most of us.
Yes, of course, and we're in a place where we got war, where people cannot control their aggression. And I don't feel proud that I had that amount of aggression. I didn't hit her.
Good. Well done. Brilliant. Well done, Mum. Well played, love. Yeah, you're doing great. Fantastic. You didn't deck her. Well done.
Thank
on the
you.
Back train.
Thank you very much.
On a Sunday in the community.
Thank you very much.
Good. Win, win, win. Well done. But if we think about it for a minute, right, because we're all human, and this is what it's like to be a teacher and a lover of humanity, is we have other bits, which are human bits, that when we're tired or whatever, you're not a fucking saint.
Well, it was like 100 degrees in the train. Lots of people standing. Yeah. Nobody could, hot and tired. And
yeah. Having said that, obviously, it's that clinician heal thyself thing, right?
Yeah. I'm usually much more chilled, Poppy, than that.
I know. I absolutely know. Hello. I've known you 41 years, Mother, and probably way before that as well. Occasionally, for my experience, what you've seen of this lady, this is it. She's how she is. You're so loving and so fun and so playful, and then lots of other stuff. And sometimes you can be really rude and aggressive.
Well, I think it's rude to say. It's rude to say.
But hang on a minute. But if we just stay with your bit.
Okay.
Like, imagine you're her, yeah? And this,
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh,
You
yes.
don't.
Today, did you do it today? Oh, I did it today. I'm on the
Okay,
train.
so all right, fine. Let's do this
I'm on
then.
the train. I'm on the train.
I wish I had a hat, but here's me with my hat. Excuse me. Do you need to do that this loudly? How long exactly is your phone call going to be?
Well, what's wrong with you? Why can't I use a phone? I'm just calling my friend.
Well, we're all reversing. This is a community train, and we can hear everything you're saying.
Well,
How
could you
long
just calm it down? I
necessary?
mean, what are you so angry about? I'm just on a phone. You could ask me nicely. You could ask me
Well,
nicely.
yes, I could ask you nicely, but this is a packed train. I would really appreciate it if you would, you know.
Excuse me, just a minute. There's a woman on the train here just talking to me. She's very rude. Could you just hang on a minute? Well, I am going to talk to my friend.
And I imagine you sort of went in a mood and sat down and then gave her evils for
Well,
2.5
you
hours.
can't tell me what to do. Sorry, you can't tell me what to do.
Okay, so if we pause it now, and you're her, right? You're the girl, you're the woman, and I'm Poppy.
Yeah.
Right, so, right, you're the girl, I'm talking to you as Poppy.
Okay.
How did it feel to have this, older lady or whatever come and approach you whilst you're...
She swooped.
Oh, she swooped. Okay. So what was your experience?
Like an eagle or a sort of like vulture.
Okay. What else? What did you experience, this woman coming at you when you're on the phone?
Shocked.
Mm.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, is a phone call so terrible?
Shocked. What did you feel?
Attacked.
What else?
Put down, humiliated. There was no sort of build up. There was no like, excuse me, I wonder if I could have a word about your phone call. Nothing. She just came at me like a ton of bricks and said, how long is this phone call going to be? Because all of us, I just like to have a time scale. That's not very nice of her. She's rude.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told most of my life I can't do what I want to do, and I've made a decision. I'm going to do what I want to do. Full stop. Nobody's going to stop me, including her, this strange woman with a weird hat.
Okay. So you as Mark.
Excuse me a minute. I'm just going to phone my other friend. Okay. I'm going to phone my other friend now.
So if you're you, if you're Mum, if you're Marsha, what does that tell you?
I should improve my style.
Rather than pointing fingers about other people's style.
Yeah, because economy is to keep it simple and keep it brief and keep it, Christ, I was at a conference on encounter and I...
Brilliant. See? Hello. Welcome to the human race, Mother. Welcome to my life. Welcome to everybody's life. Welcome to the world.
But I couldn't apply it in that moment.
Well, hello again. Welcome to the human race. You're not a saint or God, are you? Well, when it suits. Listen, this happens, right? She might be a beautiful, wonderful, loving, kind, lovely lady.
And at a certain point, I had a fantasy during this thing. I bet we're going to be best friends. At a certain point, I thought, I bet we're going to be both best friends. She was about 30 years old, something. And I thought, she's as bullheaded as I am. And I quite liked that about her. But there was definitely a sense that she wanted to win, and definitely a sense I wanted to win. More, I wanted it quiet. I wanted to close my eyes and have it a little bit quiet. I wanted to go to sleep. No way you can go to sleep when somebody's saying, and he said to her, that she's going to meet him. She's going to meet him at St. Pancras.
See, my thinking in it, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that also as a human, you also wanted to punish her a little bit.
Did I?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. That was the sense I get from the way that you approached it.
How was I punishing her? By humiliating her?
I'm not assessing, Mum. I'm just saying that's my sense. Is the way that you did it. It sounds like you wanted her to shut up.
I wanted to put a stop to it any which way I could, and I did it all wrong.
Well, hang on. Before, hello, let's just, we get to be really inquisitive here and go, good for you for having a go. How many other people were on the train who said nada?
Yeah, and I was going to say to her, you've asked 2 English people and 1 Italian. The Italian, first of all, can't understand what I'm saying, and she's there attending to her 2 boys. The 2 English people you asked, I don't think they would have said, excuse me, madam, do you think you could come off your telephone? The English people don't do that. They suffer it, and then they have a migraine.
Okay, well, some of us. I mean, the fact is,
normally,
from what you're telling the story, you were the person who had a go at having a dialogue about the truth, right?
Yeah, but when I got on the next train by myself, there was a woman playing with her little boy. They were slapping hands, and the other brother was slapping hands, slapping, laughing. And all of a sudden, she slapped him and said, "Stop." And he started to cry because he was in a game. He was only 2 or 3, and he didn't understand that the game had gone to a different place. Then she slapped him. Then she shouted at him. And I thought, you started the game, girl. It's your son. You started the game, and everything was fine with you. All of a sudden, you could stay. So I moved carriages. I thought that was a better option.
Yeah. There is a middle ground though, right? Which is, wow, good for you. Of all the people on the train, you were the person to stand up and have a go at calling it to say, hang on a minute, is there another way to do this?
When? In the first train?
On the first train with the woman on the phone, you could have gone in and been an actress and manipulative and put on a sort of act of please and thank you and no sir, 3 sir, which is just whatever.
But I think she would have bought that better, Poppy.
Okay, but my question is there a middle ground which isn't like you swooped in like a, what did she say? What did you say when you were in her role?
Like a vulture.
Okay, so is there a non-vulture-like approach, which might be...
Well, sometimes...
What would be a middle ground?
At Ferry Keys, when they were my old flat, when they were very loud upstairs, I'd open the window and say, I'm very sorry to tell you this, but I have a migraine headache and my daughter's here with a temperature of 102.
Wait. Hang on a minute. Oh my word. Is there a middle ground between the, compulsive lying and manipulative story about I'm an old granny dying and oh, my migraine, and screw you, I'm going to take your head off, and oh, please and thank you, and oh, darling, marvelous, wonderful, could we please turn the phone off? Is there a middle ground which is actually talking to what you want to say that is really... Well, representative of what you want to say without the I'm a vulture sweeping in to take out this
okay, so let me try it again. You be the girl, I'll try it, okay?
Okay.
Could you be on?
Hi, George. Yeah, I'm on the train. We're coming into St. Pancras. Well, probably, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes.
Excuse me.
An hour.
Excuse me, could I talk to you for a moment?
Hang on a minute. There's a woman here being rude. Yes?
We've just come from a conference and we're very, very tired and it's rather hot in the train, and I wonder if you could just keep it down a little bit, could you keep it down a little bit, your voice, if you don't mind? Thanks very much.
I'll call you back. I mean, was that, wait though, because let's not go too fast, because would that bit have been a fair representation of what you wanted to say without the swooping in, without the English overly polite that doesn't suit you? I had a funny thing happen today with me and it's similar really, where I overheard a woman say that she was talking to a friend, and they were serving me coffee, and they were talking as they were serving the coffee. And the woman said to the other, I've been looking at my daughter's mobile phone. And the woman said, that's intrusive. And she said, well, she's 11. She doesn't get to have privacy. And I walked away and thought, why have I overheard that? And I need to just say my bit, because I was there. She knew I was there. She knows me. She knows I'm a psychologist. She knows I'm going to have something to say. And I wrote a little, because she was really busy when I went back, and I wrote a little note just saying, basically, you know, give me a message, but some thoughts, basically. And for me, you know, in situations like that, like when you were role playing that woman, I imagine, one, you've triggered a story, which is, you know, people tell me what to do, but also there are people listening. And that's what I've noticed. Sometimes when you've done your rah, you know, swoop in thing, when other people are listening, we can go straight to shame, right? I did it wrong.
Right, but there were two people sitting with her. I looked at that, and they both had earphones in. The one next to her had his earphones in. He didn't even look up when I came. The other one, earphones.
But equally, that's your experience, right? Whereas we don't know what her experience is in life.
True.
And what I find people respond well to is just a little touch, little gentle tap.
She was way across. She was way across the train table. I couldn't. I'd have to have leaned across.
So then the table. So then there's you know, this is the kind of, you know, we get on it before we're furious and want to, you know, punish somebody or something. But there is a way to like go in.
What did you do with the lady then? What did you do with the lady today?
Well, I went back to say to her, listen, I've got some thoughts. She knew I overheard. And she was really busy. And I thought, I'm not going to leave it because I know I'm going to sit with it. So I just wrote a little note, and God love her. And I said, message me. We know one another. From afar, we know. We're on Facebook together, basically. And she messaged me and she said, thank you so much for your message. I'm a firm believer that it takes a village to raise a child. So I'd be really intrigued to think about what you said, and thank you for your time and so on. But had I have gone and said it in front of people or whatever, it could have been a different kind of a scenario, you know?
I did think of writing a note that said the consideration you give is the consideration you get.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't find my pen.
Okay.
Or paper.
My point is
paper.
There's a middle ground, right? Where she gets to see a bit more of you than just your swoop in bit.
What would you have said?
Something similar. And, you know, a few years back, I'd have been really aggressive. But probably I would have written something, or I'd have tapped her or tapped the friend and just whispered to say, you know, could you cut the call because we're on the train? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Could you cut the call because we're on the train? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. That's a good way to do it. Because what I'm worried talking to you now is maybe I'm getting worse.
No, you're not. I've known you my whole life. And sometimes you can go in hard, and sometimes you can do your, you know, my daughter's dying, therefore please could you close your door? You know, there's a middle ground.
I saw.
So you don't have to lie.
I saw on my photos today. I was looking at it.
She used to do this, by the way. When I lived with her, let me just interrupt this. Consistently, the people would party above, and there was a period of time where, thank you, Mum. I lived with my mum when I was depressed for quite a period of time, and she would say, my daughter's this, my daughter's that, a year or 2 or 5 after I had been there ill. And you'd make that as an excuse, as opposed to, excuse me, you know, it's after 10. I'd love it if you could shut the door. Instead, it's, I'm 94 and my daughter's suicidally depressed and blah, blah,
no,
blah.
I didn't say that, Poppy. I didn't say
No, I know.
But I did try very...
You don't have to lie.
I did try the other thing that you said. Do you mind closing your door? Because they would open the windows. We had Juliet balcony to smoke, and they'd open the window, and then they'd leave the Juliet balcony doors open, and then the music was blaring, and the people were screaming, and da-da-da. And I couldn't sleep. Sometimes I had to sleep in the shower, in the bathtub. I'd go in the bathtub with a blanket, because it was the only place I couldn't thump, thump, thump. It was the only place it wasn't thump, 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 and screaming, you know.
You get the middle ground idea, though.
I do, but here's the thing. I was looking on the photos today, and there's this photo, and it says, of a gravestone, and it says, "She was a wonderful person except for the last 3 years."
But see, you do this, my wonderful mum. Sometimes you make up stories. We all do this. That, now I'm senile because I forgot my handbag, or am I getting worse? Or you've been like this since I met you. Sometimes you're really incredibly loving and funny and stuff.
The Minister of Parliament, Tony Benn, a friend of mine, said he's getting, I'm getting more immature with age as I get older. And he said, and the guy said, "And how does it feel, the journalist, to be 84? He said, "Well, I've been described as a kindly, sweet, old, harmless gentleman. I am kindly and sweet and old and a gentleman, but I'm not harmless. 2 months ago, I got a death threat. I was so chuffed." Because as a member of Parliament, when he was at his highest, he would stand up and say, "Maggie Thatcher spent 285,000 on armaments in Iraq on January 17th, 1985. Here is the piece of paper, and sit down." And he never slammed the opposition. So I said to him, how can you be the same person? There's 12 people in the House or 300 in the House. You're always the same person, and you never slam the opposition like others. They say Maggie Thatcher is terrible. "Oh, that's easy," he said. "My grandpa taught me, never wrestle with the chimney sweep. Never get yourself dirty on the dirt of others."
Yeah, he's a very gracious man, big time.
And he said his mom was dying once. I said, "What is she saying about death and stuff?" And he said, "Oh, she said today, I don't mind death. It's the only time you go away and you don't have to pack."
Oh, gosh.
He was a great guy, and he was very helpful, certainly to me. And I was helpful when his wife was dying of cancer. I sent him Siegel books, those Siegel books about how, whatever. And then I thought maybe I'd marry him after Ken, after Dad, because he's.
What is it about you and marrying people? You're always talking about marrying people. It's either your birthday or you're getting married, or both.
Usually, yes.
So what did we learn, all of us, on this one? This happens to people every day, doesn't it? I mean, does anybody identify with this story and where you would be in the story and how you would be and who you would be and all that?
I'm usually proud of myself when I chill, and proud of myself when I hit the bullseye and the other person has heard me and I haven't hurt anybody. I'm not proud that I obviously hurt her.
Well, that takes a huge amount to say, think about, reflect on, be aware of, and have the courage to go through that whole process, to think about saying something, to say something, to reflect on your part, to think about, to have compassion for her and whatever's going on with her. We've got no idea.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is my intellect or my morality says 2.5 hours on the train, on the telephone, with people surrounding you. My intellect says that's a touch much.
I agree. However, to me, that's anxiety. Somebody that really is struggling to sit with themselves is going to have to keep busy, right? So she's probably just managing anxiety.
And as soon as she'd hang up one, I would, when I watched her during these times, she'd hang up one and then she'd go and go on to the next phone call. And it went on for 2.5 hours.
She's got life going on inside of her, right? I doubt she's doing it to cause herself.
Would it have been better if I would have said, "Could I help you?"
I don't know that she'd have necessarily been that reflective. Maybe.
Or would you like to come and talk to us?
Well, that's lovely. It's kind of romantic given that you were pissed, right? You got pissed. You were angry about it. You got triggered. She's not thinking about the community.
But I would like to transcend where I was.
Yeah. So then you get to look at your trigger. What happened internally for you when you're witnessing this thing and starting to feel feelings about
I
it,
think
and
it's
then you
about
swoop in.
selfishness, because I am quite selfish in the sense of self-full.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, as you often say, we have a choice in every moment to make the moment we want. We have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So my choice was to have it quiet so I could close my eyes. I
Mm-hmm.
can't control the train, can I?
No, you can control your response to the train. Can I tell you my fantasy about this?
Yeah.
Because I think it's useful, because you're only going to be, all of us, well, I don't know, I can't talk for others, but we're going to be thinking about this. My fantasy is when you go in hard on people like that, it's because I've seen her so lovingly and fun and like a magician. I saw once, let me tell this story because this is fucking profound. Excuse my swearing,
What?
but I do swear occasionally.
I can't wait.
I mean, honest to God, time after time after time, this woman's a magician. So we're in Italy. Was it? No, I don't know where we were. Somewhere in an airport, and there's a woman losing her staff. She's clearly off her head high, and there must be, I don't know, 500 people waiting for a flight in a very small room, and there's security and everything, and I'm at the back. And there's this woman running around. I mean, it's like manic high stuff, shouting. And you can see this is getting into danger. And I've been in that so many times. And, you know, I've witnessed it and worked with people who've got themselves in that situation. I've also been in that situation. I know what's going to happen. She's going to get arrested in like seconds. And I look and I see my mother just literally swooping in like this. I don't know. What did you look like? It was, I don't know. It was extraordinary. Like she was there. I'm looking way. She was right beside me, and literally no word of a lie. I want to get this right. 4 or 5 seconds, Mum and this woman are hugging, holding each other, and the woman goes, "Oh," she tips her head like this, "Oh," and they hold each other, and the woman goes and sits down, and it happened in, honest to God, 10 seconds, 11 seconds. And that I've seen that of you 97% of the time. And other times you can be, you know, like we're describing. Honestly, I've seen that over and over again. And obviously, you know, there are other times when, you know, you haven't been around for whatever reason. That I've seen you do, like a magician. I've never known anybody. I mean, Zerka Moreno, yeah, incredible. And other people, Dad was incredible with people. It's ridiculous. It's like kind of like, and I remember all of the stewards, as we're getting onto the flight, they're saying to my mum, you know, what did you say? What did you say? What did you say? She literally, it was just like magic. And honestly, Mum, that's usually your MO is, you know, magic. Extraordinary. From this scene of, you know, within moments, within a couple of minutes, she'd have been on the floor, cuffed, screaming and yelling, and then a court case, and then a sectioning. She'd have gone to a psychiatric clinic. And I ended up, of course, sitting next to her on the flight. She was off her nuts, you know, pupils dilated, coped to hell. And you would, you know, she wouldn't have got that flight. She wouldn't have been able to go to the UK. She'd have been in, you know, a lot of trouble.
Okay, I think I figured something out as you're speaking.
What?
I had compassion for that woman in Venice. I had compassion for her pain. I didn't have compassion for this lady today, and I don't know why.
Okay. So what did you see in her that you were judging, or that was angering you, or
Selfishness.
that wasn't okay?
But conscious selfishness. The girl in Venice was off her nut on drugs or booze or whatever the hell. So it wasn't she was consciously making a mess and thing. She was in it. You know what I mean? This lady was consciously being antisocial, it seemed to me, and not aware that she was being that. And yet aware. Okay. Surely she must know if she's on the phone and there's 20 people around. that she's loud. And it was loud. I don't mind if somebody's on the phone, but she was loud.
Okay, so ultimately, what were you judging? What were you saying was bad about her and what she was doing?
She wasn't thinking about other people.
Mm-hmm. And it's bad not to think about other people.
Well, in the mentalization sense of holding in mind what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking at the same time as trying to hold in mind what you're thinking and what you might be feeling.
Exactly. And that's the ideal, right? That's a beautiful kind of way to show up in life.
And role reverse with the other. How am I coming across? Which was what I couldn't do with her. I didn't role reverse with her at all. I was so angry with her, I just swooped.
Yeah, well, you got triggered. So there's a judgment that it's like beautiful to show up in life, to be able to do all the mentalizing. Fantastic. However, we're human beings, right? We get triggered. So it seems to me what you're saying is I have an internal judgment that says it is not okay to not think about other people. So obviously,
well, I don't think about other people all the time. I do a lot of stuff where I don't give a damn.
Yeah, you do a lot of stuff where you don't give a damn and it's kind of healthy and fun and, healthily selfish, healthily full, self-full,
yeah,
selfish.
like I'm a kid, like, I think I told you this lovely story that a little 4-year-old said, Marsha, I have such a heartache in my stomach today. I have to eat and eat and eat and eat.
Yeah.
Now, he's not saying it to disturb me. It's just spontaneous. I have a heartache in my stomach. I have to eat and eat and eat. Little 4-year-old boy, cracked eating disorder. Well, he's not disturbing me purposefully. He's just speaking out loud, doing out loud. And I'm kind of like that. I do out loud. Like, I couldn't find my bra today when I was trying to go to the plenary. And I text this guy that I wanted to marry. I said, come for coffee or something. And I can't find my bra. Text. Out of text. Out of text. So I said, you didn't answer. I said, you didn't answer because we were texting, you didn't answer. And he said, well, because I thought about saying, I'll come and help you.
Oh dear. Okay. So she, sometimes, it's funny, you can get away with it. But if we stay with the story for a minute, I've known you in times where you judge your selfishness. You judge the healthy part. When you're healthily selfish, you can be spontaneous in it, right? To take care of you and not have to worry about other people. And sometimes you're comfortable in that. And sometimes you're like most people, you'll second guess yourself. And then, oh, was that selfish? Oh, I was bad then. Oh, and then you really go in on yourself, right?
Do I?
Yes, it's not a question, it's a statement. You do that, right?
Well, what I was just thinking of is I feel I am responsible for me. You are responsible for you. But we are responsible for what we're creating together. You and I right now, we're responsible for what we're co-creating. And I feel the girl on the train wasn't taking her part of that responsibility of what we're co-creating on the train.
And it sounds like you're right. But all you can do is observe that and take responsibility for yours, right?
I thought I did, but I was pretty mean about it.
Okay, but usually when what someone else is doing is not okay, we're judging that as bad.
Yeah. That's what I'm not proud of, is I made a judgment that she's wrong.
Okay. And would you say that you can do that yourself? That you do what you were saying is not okay in her?
Say that again.
Would you say that sometimes you do yourself what you were judging she was doing?
Being selfish.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then you shame on yourself, tell yourself it's not okay, right?
Not very often.
Okay, but there are times, I mean, I'm not wanting to lead you, I'm being serious because I think it's useful for all of us to just own it when we get triggered.
I feel pretty clean how I live. I say what I think.
Extraordinarily clean.
Huh?
You're very clean how you live. Very
I say what I think.
Opinion.
I eat what I want and don't eat what I don't want. I go to situations I like. I go, if something's not right, I leave.
Exactly. So are you allowed to be human in amongst all of this?
Sure.
Okay. So, this is kind of how we roll, it's boundaries here of, is this, what are we doing to explore this? It seems to me it's really important because what I know of you is occasionally when you're just doing a very human thing, which is taking care of you, you can go in on yourself about it and second guess yourself and then tell yourself off and judge it. So for me, what I'm hearing you say is she wasn't thinking of others and it's not okay and it made me angry. And then now, when I call it and say to her, she's not thinking about it and reflecting on it and taking responsibility, which makes me even more angry. She's not looking at her part, which makes me even more angry. Right? And yet you're saying, well, I really identify with this woman. She's kind of feisty like me and she had her corner like I do. And when you role played her, you're saying, oh, nobody's going to tell me what to do. I've had a life of that. Fuck her. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do it even more then. I'm 5 years old. Which is, hello, how old do you say you are when I ask you occasionally? How old are you, mother?
8.
Okay. So you identify, right?
Yeah.
So this is how it kind of goes. Is when we own our edges.
When we own
You're alive.
When we own our what?
Edges. Our learning edges, our human edges. Because otherwise, we split off and get manic or depressed. Because that's people, right? Everybody has that. We're either all good or all bad. And sometimes it can be, quite flighty and literal. Everything's fine, I don't have to think about it. Or I'm terrible because I did it.
Let me ask you something. Occasionally, you've said on your lives, you met somebody in the shop or on the street, and you felt it's not okay for them to be doing what they're doing, and you call it to them in a way, and then they come back at you like a ton of bricks.
Do you have an example?
No. But I remember you saying that there was somebody hostile to you in the public sphere.
Well, for me, I get hostility sometimes, and I'm like you. My sort of, what's the word? Want, for want of a better one, is to call it with compassion, without defensiveness, without having a row that's unnecessary, but to talk to the point in a way that I can essentially get what I want and they can get what they want, that we find a middle ground where we can see and hear each other, ideally, but it doesn't always happen that way, obviously.
Moreno had an interesting term, which was ethical anger, that there are certain times when we're morally and ethically bound to stand up and be counted because what's happening is immoral, like with the Trump thing and the caged children and not being able to find their mums and dads, and seeing this poor boy who his mum found him and he couldn't even express to her happiness or put his arms around. He was traumatized, clearly traumatized, and she said to the journalist, "I'm glad I found him, but he's sad."
Yeah.
Okay, so morally and ethically, I think it's very important for me to stand up and be counted, as many organizations across the world have had global outrage. It's our responsibility to do that, because if good men do nothing, that's worse than the evil itself.
Yes. So even more, we have in my view, it's beautiful that we're stepping up, we as in you and me and us, stepping up to be courageous enough to give it a go.
Yeah, I feel
and reflect
courageous.
On...
I feel courageous.
Brilliant.
A lot of the time I don't feel courageous. I feel unafraid to say what I feel and think. I feel unafraid. It's just like I'm a kid. I'm an 8-year-old and say, you know, hang on, I think your hips are fat.
Yeah, there's like a childlike innocence in it,
Yeah,
right?
it's an innocence. Yes, it's an innocence. But I wasn't. I didn't have innocence today.
Okay, and do you get why?
Well, what I came away thinking is, the people that trigger us are the most like us.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember my first time at the Moreno Institute. There was a nurse on stage, and she was screaming about something her mother did or didn't do, or her boss or something. And Moreno said, "Could you? Who do you think in this room could understand you the most? Pick yourself a double from the group." I didn't know her at all.
So this is group psychotherapy you're talking about,
Training
right?
in psychodrama group psychotherapy, and she looked in the audience and she chose me to be her double. I thought, oh my God, I hate that.
Tell us what a double is, because some people won't know what that is.
Okay, well, it's a member of the group who helps you speak the unspeakable and express what's unconsciously there but you're afraid to express. And if the person who's the protagonist or the subject of the session working out something, if they agree with you, the double, they pick up on it, go on as if it's their voice. And if they, like you do in your own mind, and if they disagree with you, they say, no, I don't think that, but I think that, or I don't feel that, but I feel that. It's like one time on the Moreno stage that there was a lady, no, man, in a scene with his wife, and she was serving him food, and he said something like, "You're giving me liver again. I've lived with you 25 years and I've told you I don't like liver. I never have liked liver. Why do you keep giving me liver?" And I was sitting next to him, and the double takes the body language of the person speaking. So you sit a little bit behind so they don't see that you're trying to get information from the body expression. Otherwise, it feels like mimicking.
Yeah.
So in my
That's
body, I felt, I don't want to be with this woman. And I said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I want a divorce. And he said, so do I. It's enough. It was in seconds.
Yeah.
It went
In
from
tune.
liver, 25 years of liver, you don't get me, woman. I don't want this anymore. And he said, yes, that's because.
Yeah. So anyway, she wanted you to be her, to double her.
Yeah, when I first went there, she picked me. So I tried to take her body language and I said stuff from within her mind, and she agreed that I got her. And then afterwards, I shared with her in the group, I'm just like her.
I'm just like you. Yeah.
That's how I understood you so well. And I began to think at that time, gosh, maybe the people who are most like us are the ones who make us most angry, because we see ourselves in their behavior. What is it about me that I don't like, I'm not proud of, I can't handle, I can't be in control of, that I see in the other, and I'm going to point the finger and say, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that. And I'm really talking to myself, maybe.
Bingo, mama. Absolutely.
Did I pass the test?
You with flying colours.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, you know, hello. If we think of a time where I've been defensive about something, I'm sure you would have pointed this out to me similarly. You'd have challenged me with, hang on a minute, Poppy, this is your stuff, right? Can you think of a time? Because this is not new stuff. It's just, it's really difficult for us to see it when we're in it because we're triggered. Can't reflect. That's the point. We're defensive. Can you think of a time, you know, Christ, there's 41 years to choose from where I've been on one about some judgment and you'll have challenged me on it.
I'll tell you what comes immediately to mind, but I don't know if I'm supposed to say stuff like this.
Oh, you know, whatever, just say
I
it.
mean,
Nothing. These are our friends. We're all learning. Right?
On occasion, you come home and say, Mom, I met this guy, and he's exactly what I don't need.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking to him. So I'm not talking to him. I'm not. I'm just going to give it a miss. But, you know, I know he's the wrong. I know it's wrong. I know. And then all of a sudden, a week later, a year later, 2 months later, you're living with him, or you're in love, or I don't know what. And I've thought, hang on,
Guilty as charged.
what is going on that you can hone in on the very person who isn't good for you? Because I think I did the same in a way. I mean, my dad was not very demonstrative. He never hugged me, or he never kissed me, or whatever. And I could walk into a cocktail party in New York of 500 people and pick the one man who was emotionally unavailable. I was like a beeline to this guy who was either separated or couldn't express his emotions, or couldn't cherish me, or whatever, because that's what I was used to with my dad. I knew my dad loved me, but he never expressed it. He never gave it to me. He never, because he couldn't. He was a refugee. They were just surviving. I don't think love was part of their vocabulary.
Yeah,
So,
we go seeking for the unavailable parent. That's what we do.
yeah.
So thanks, parents, because that's what I would do. I shared this actually. I think it was last week in training group. I was saying this is classically what I've always said with many, many partners is this is not the person for me. And I'm glad for it, because all of them, you know, we've all grown from it and it's been wonderful. But I've known intuitively, and this is what I see in psychodrama. Whenever I've been in a psychodrama or sociodrama and people say, you know, pick someone to play your brother or your father or your dog or the tree or whatever, people intuit, unspoken, you know, who it is. I've seen people many, many times, obviously, pick an old man to play their sister or whatever. It's like, there's just, honestly, obviously,
and what Moreno,
it's so powerful.
what Moreno called telly is a two-way feeling into, because often, as a director might say to the person picked, you know, the old man to play the sister, did you know she was going to pick you? And he'd say, yeah, I did. I knew. Because then later on we find out he's got the same story. So Moreno said, we make up our minds about each other within 30 seconds of meeting, whether we like each other, don't like each other. And empathy, in the old Greek tradition, people would, you know, empathize, but it's a one-way system. I empathize with you, or I have sympathy for you. It isn't a mutual thing. Sometimes we have mutual empathy, but telly is a two-way unspoken thing where I got you and you got me without having to say. It's extraordinary in a group. You pick the one, you know, you say pick somebody to be your dead mother, and you pick the one person whose mother died last week. How is that possible out of 500 people? How is that possible?
Who identifies? Put a 19 in the box if you identify with this. This is the magic human stuff. This is in all of us, in my view. I bet people can identify, can you? This is the unsaid, the primitive.
And we don't know we're doing it. We don't know we're doing it. I remember making a film with Bill Greaves, a documentary filmmaker in Appalachian Mountains, on the outward.
Put my hair up. It's so hot.
It's hot too here.
Keep going.
In the Appalachian Mountains, about the Outward Bound program. I think it was Kennedy that had kids from around the world in America volunteer to go to different countries and volunteer their skills. It was called Outward Bound. So we go up to the Appalachian Mountains, and I walk into the room, and Bill's got the camera, and I said, keep the camera on. Why? All the blacks were sitting on one side of the room, and all the whites were sitting on the other side of the room, who come from the Outward Bound program. Naturally, they chose where they wanted to sit. So I said, keep the camera rolling. So I said to a black lady, how come you sat here? You know, there's all the whites on the other side. Oh, because I came with Georgina. And how come Georgina? Oh, because I know her sister, and she just looks a nice lady. So I went to the white side and said, how come you sat here? Oh, because there was an extra seat here. And this lady's got blue on, and I like blue, etc., etc. Well, how does it happen that all the blacks just sat together and all the whites sat together? The body remembers what the mind forgets. So the body gravitates to what's familiar, and we don't want to, I make a point, I must say, on public transport to sit next to a black person quite consciously, because I notice if you look on a bus or on a train, there's almost always an empty seat next to a minority person, because nobody sits there, because they're afraid they're afraid to go into something moment of different. And my sense is, what does it feel like to be one black person on a train with 200 white people, or on the same train there's 200 white people, one black person, never all the whites are sitting next together, nobody sits next to me. I feel like I'm a leper. Must be horrible feeling.
I've experienced that actually in San Diego. I was talking about this with some friends the other day. A couple of times I've had racism, or that's been at least my perception, and in San Diego sometimes, and it's quite.
You felt it yourself, you mean?
Yeah, many times, but that's not true. A few times.
For yourself, for yourself, or for someone.
I've felt that behaviors are happening because I'm white in the negative. Oh. And it's been, confronting and painful and scary and intriguing and interesting. And I've also been grateful for it, because it's opened my eyes to say,
Did that come from other whites?
No, that's been in groups. I've been to clubs and I've been the only white person, or I've been, in town or whatever. And I don't naturally, I think because there's been so much discussion about difference and race and class and, intellect and emotion since I was young, is I don't classically see the obvious difference that it's all women or all, Spanish or what. I have to think about it sometimes, because I think I've forced myself to integrate my thinking about this stuff, because I've not wanted to identify as being threatened by or judging difference. So sometimes I've kind of like pushed it on myself to go, no, you must appreciate that we're very similar, and sameness and difference is neither are threatening, that kind of thing. It's quite complex in my head how this stuff works. But I was saying to my friend the other day, she's a black woman, and she was saying she's experienced racism a lot at home and not in San Diego. And I said, and of course that's been my experiences here in San Diego. And she said, it's just really, really powerful how people are. And it's, again, safety in numbers. It's not necessarily all, thought out and planned. It happens because we are as we are, threatened by so much so quick. It's like Christopher. I don't know if you know this, actually. Do you remember the guy that I interviewed about cannabis who had cancer? Christopher. He died 2 months ago. I only just found out. And that's where our discussion started, when we met, both of us walking the dogs in San Diego, whenever it was, 18 months ago. And the Rocket, my dog, kept sniffing his dog. And in the end, I just said, listen, hi, puppy, and we spent an hour and a half walking around town. And my first question, I said, I'm intrigued, and, I'd love your view. Why are there so many particularly black men on the street in San Diego? Because obviously it's an absolute epidemic. And we got a lot of mentally ill and a lot of veterans and a lot of women and a lot of white and so on. But it was very obvious to me that so many are black men. And he was saying, it's the stories we tell ourselves. He's convinced. And he was a very reflective, intelligent man, and black man as well. And he said, it's the stories. We're still telling ourselves stories about what we can do and what we can't do. And I'm like, do you think it's that simple? Because I was really naive to it. I just said, I'm intrigued. I want to understand what on earth is going on. And he said, I'm convinced that we're still telling ourselves stories about what's okay and what's not okay. And he said, I'm talking to you. You're obviously a white woman and I'm a black man, and we're obviously both educated and we're obviously both lovely. But he said, just in my heart, I can feel that I would defer to you as the more privileged, important race. Like in my heart, he said, I couldn't. I mean, look how I identify. Did you see that? The unconscious. I'm doubling him. He said, in my heart, I know that I couldn't remove that I would always look to you as a more important human than me because of my color. That's in my heart. And that's why so many people of color are on the street. And I was like, do we really think this? And he was convinced. And it makes sense to me. When I talk to some people, I'm like, tell me your story. And there are these stories we tell ourselves, obviously. It was fascinating. And anyway, he's passed away recently.
I associating a story that happened to me in New York City about balance and equality, and I don't know why I'm thinking about this. One time I was walking Samantha, my dog, in Central Park because I lived near, on a Sunday morning, sunny. Up over the hill comes a guy in a black satin shirt, peroxide hair, black satin trousers, and he got something in his arm. Not on a lead like Samantha, but something in his arm that's wiggling. And he comes near me, and it's white, and it's wiggling under his arm. Black satin, peroxide hair, skinny guy, trendy guy. And I come near, it's got something red on it, you know, and I think, oh,
wait, let me just get the story. What's red?
Something on this wiggly thing that was white under his arm has got red on it.
Right.
And as I get closer, it's a chicken.
Right.
He was walking his chicken in Central Park. I was walking my dog on a Sunday morning. And I said, good morning, how's your chicken? Fine, good morning. How's your dog? Fine, good morning. And we walked on. Now, if that had happened in Devonshire, you know, small area of London, Southwest, they would have put him into a psychiatric hospital. But because it was New York City, everything went. Everything goes, you know what I mean? So, and there was a certain sense of, I wasn't better because I had a dog, or he wasn't better because he had a chicken, or because he had peroxide hair and he had black satin and I had a little dress, whatever. We were just equal people walking our beloved animals in the park on a Sunday morning in the sunshine. Good morning, how's your chicken? Good morning, how's your dog? And how nice.
Big style.
I like that about New York City, that those...
I do too, very much.
Those kind of things that happen, and they're not judged, and they're not equated or what you call weighed up. There's no weighing up. It's better to have a chicken than a dog, or it's better to have a dog than a chicken. It's just he likes chickens, I like dogs.
What is that about? Why is that in New York? I remember like it was yesterday. It must have been 20 years ago. I was in New York, and I was still a bit kind of epically doubting of myself. And I said something about my outfit to my friend, and he goes, "This is New York. You can do anything." And I was really mindful as I walked. Why is that in New York specifically?
Well, maybe it's about survival. I mean, I lived in the West Village, and we used to love is somebody throw a party, and the guy downstairs who's been the night postman guy working, you never saw him for 5 years because he was always working at night. He'd come. And then the person next door who was a nurse, and the person upstairs who was a librarian or a professor, or, you know, Dustin Hoffman, or I don't know who, pile in, you know, like Anne Bancroft used to have the same bakery as me and Mel Brooks and stuff. And you could find yourself at a party across class, across money, across fame and fortune, because you all lived together in that area of the neighborhood. And maybe because life is tough there so much. And in the 60s, I lived in the highest crime area. My dad sent me long hat pins to have in my purse, and mace. I had spray mace in case there was a mugger. The trouble is I had a big handbag, and you'd have to say, "Excuse me, mugger, could you sit down behind my dad's long hat pin so I can stab you," you know. and then Mayor Lindsay at the time, I remember, well, one of the comedians said, "The crime is so bad in Central Park, they're not even letting the muggers in."
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
But maybe it's about survival, because I was saying on the train today to Nesha, you know, if we were playing with a baby, and I had a bunch of stuff in my bag, and I was giving it to the dad, and the baby was playing with my lipstick, which was empty, and whatever. And then there was a plastic cup I gave the baby and stuff. And she said, "Do you always carry this stuff in your bag?" I said, "No, it's today's bag, today's thing." Da, da, da. And then I said, if we were in a car accident or a train crash right now, we would all look after each other beautifully, care about, hold each other, kiss each other, tell each other wonderful things of strength. Because there's no emergency, we act like we don't know each other or care about each other. And I have a feeling maybe New York City is about, we have to survive. So the guy who helps me with my rubbish might be Mel Brooks or might be, Meryl Streep, but she's helped me with my rubbish because it's tough to get my rubbish in New York. Maybe something like that. But whereas in Britain, you can't have a party in Britain with a lord and the rubbish man at the same time. Wouldn't happen. Well, I've never been to one.
Well, it would be your party if it was.
Well, my 70th birthday party, which you weren't too conscious about, was the hairdresser, the guy who swept the floor, professors, doctors, patients, family. Then I remember this one little boy who sweeps the floor in the hairdressers. He sat next to a doctor friend of mine, and the doctor told me this. He said, the little boy said, because he was in sixth form thinking about going, he said, "Did you go to college?" And the doctor said, "Yes, I did." And he said, did you get a job after that?" Because, yes. So he said, "What do you want?" "Oh, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to work," he said. So in his mind, college was not even about what you choose. It's about you go to school and you get a job. "I'm going to get a job." He said, "I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a job." That was a big thing. And then, as you remember, a guy came from Belgium to sing. He wrote me a song. He was a songwriter. "Calm down, Marcia. Your skirt isn't on upside down. You must be doing something right." That was my 70th birthday song he wrote for me, because I got off the plane in Belgium and he picked me up, and I realized as I looked down, we were in a supermarket car park. I had my skirt on backwards, and it was one of those fashion things where the elastic was in the middle, but I realized it was upside down. So I said, "If anybody, would I get arrested in Belgium if I just whip it down? It's winter. I have tights on. I have wool tights on. Just whip it down and put it up the right way." It was a mini skirt thing, elastic thing. And he said, "Well, try it. I'll put my coat around you and we'll put the car door there." So I whipped it down, whipped up. Well, it was 3 seconds, okay? And he walked away from the car and he said, "Calm down, Marcia. Your skirt isn't on upside down. You must be doing something right." And I said, "That would be a great song for my 70th birthday party." He said, "I'm going to write it." I said, "Would you come?" He took a boat from Belgium and he sang that song with his girlfriend. A great song about I look crazy, but I'm actually quite bright, and I'm funny and this and that, but I have a heart and all this stuff. So this little sweeper boy has witnessed all this sort of, if you remember, the evening's entertainment was funny stories about Marcia. So people got up and told funny stories. In the middle of all this, the little sweeper boy, not quite Down syndrome, but a bit challenged mentally. "Marcia, could I sing a song?" We said, "Yeah." We gave him the microphone and he sang, "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you."
Nice.
And we all sang with him, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was very absent at that time. I'm sorry that I missed a lot of it, Mum.
I know.
Well, I am sorry, and I was absent, and
Well, I'm also sorry that I didn't contribute to you not being absent enough. So, mutual.
Yeah.
We've survived. We will survive.
We have. I think we've done epically well, truly. Yay us is what I say.
What?
Yay us. It's extraordinary what we've both been through and shared and learned and overcome, and how we've worked together and how we've tolerated the other one and how we've come through and won and still learning and still prepared to learn. It's like, it's really beautiful, and yay us. It's beautiful. I'm glad I picked you, Mum.
Well,
I would pick you again in a heartbeat.
Because, you know, I had a miscarriage before you were born. You know that. And if I hadn't had that miscarriage, you would have never been born. So thank you to the little baby that went away.
Yeah.
She gave us each other. Or he.
Yeah. Yeah. Ditto.
Did it.
Ditto, I said.
Oh, ditto, yeah.
Absolutely.
Today we were singing Tina Turner's song, You're the Best. You're better than all the rest. You're better than anyone I've ever met. You're simply the best.
Exactly. We did good. There's been a lot of, a lot of stuff. We did great. I'm proud of us.
Well, we're doing. We're in the process of doing. Let's not say we did, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, but with what we've done so far, we've done pretty damn good, I think.
I do too. Survivors.
You're simply the best.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
Shall we say goodbye and love everybody? And meet again another day.
Thank you, Puppy.
Thank you too. I love you very much. You're extraordinary, and then some.
I feel the same about you.
Aren't we lucky?
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye, everyone. Good luck. See you soon.